Hello, I'm Sandy Potter.
I'm Michael L., and welcome to Ageless Living.
The COVID-19 pandemic forced us to change the ways we do so many of the things we had enjoyed before. For one Connecticut couple who had been teaching cooking classes at local senior centers, this meant coming up with a unique solution when those centers were shut down.
That's right. They created a production studio in their kitchen and have been offering virtual classes for months.
And now their efforts have culminated in a cookbook that raises money for an important cause. I was delighted to speak with Susan and Paul Doyle about their wonderful story. Let's take a look at our virtual discussion. Hi, Susan and Paul. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ageless Living.
All right, Sandy, thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
It's great to speak to you. So let's go back to before the pandemic began. Tell us about what you were doing then and how things changed suddenly when everything had to shut down.
Well, so we have a business that helps families find assisted living and memory care. So in doing that, we were always part of the senior community, and we were involved with a lot of the senior centers, and we provided programming for them. And one of the pieces we provided was a cooking demonstration where we bring in chefs from assisted livings. They make fancy meals, and it was great. When the pandemic hits, the senior centers close, nobody has anything to do, everybody's quarantined, and one of the senior centers reached out to us and said, look, it's any of your programming that you do, does it move onto the web at all? We have a couple of people Zooming. And I'm like, sure, give us a second. And we decided to bring that program, which we called the Downsized Gourmet, into our kitchen. Susan's a terrific cook, and it's a hobby of hers as well. So it was a lark. And at the beginning of June of last year, we started doing Zooms from our kitchen.
Yeah, so it's the Downsized Gourmet, hard to cook for one or two. So how do you do it on a budget? And to be able to repurpose the leftovers so you're not eating meatloaf 5 days a week, right? And once again, on a budget, and you're not going to the grocery store so much. So what do you use from your pantry? How can you improvise? Things like that. And as Paul said, we had quite a few people that would Zoom in. We had over a dozen senior centers that would Zoom in every month and meet with us and get engaged. We had so much fun because they were, as I said, from all over the county, and they would talk to each other. Who's from Stanford? Who's in Brookfield? Who's in Fairfield? Whatever. And they would chat with each other and talk about, what's going on during the pandemic and really interact. So it became much more than just the cooking show. It was a way for them to combat isolationism and have fun together.
That's really incredible. You built a community of friends and all sharing the same interest in your hobby that you love, which is just phenomenal. So as you were saying, your demonstrations focus on showing seniors how to downsize traditional recipes when they find themselves only cooking for two people. Can you share just a few of your best tips with us? We don't want to give too many away.
Yeah. So a lot of it is how do you downsize, right? How do you, I'm not going to make lasagna for 12 people. How do you make it for two? And so, that's just one example. So putting it into a device like a baking pan, and how do you do that, right? The other part of it, once again, you're going to have a recipe that you can make smaller, but you still have to get those ingredients. So if you have an expensive ingredient, let's say I have a crab cake recipe. Crab meat can be expensive, but what else can you use it for? So you can make crab cakes, then you can make crab salad. Maybe you can make some pasta with little, fish sauce or whatever it is. But understanding if you buy that ingredient, how can you use in multiple ways so it's not expensive anymore, right? And so that's those are the tips that we talk about. Leftovers. One of my big one was Thanksgiving. What do you do with Thanksgiving leftovers? I did not cook a turkey here. In front of everybody. But I said, we can make a turkey stew with all the leftovers. We can make Thanksgiving empanadas that you use everything. Real interesting stuff like that. So it's not just, let's have a turkey sandwich. So those types of things is how I think those are really good tips.
Yeah, those were also those are the ones more than just downsizing the recipe and say, cut it in half, right? Or cut it in a quarter. That I now have 3 different meals. It wasn't, as Susan said, let's have crab cakes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So no. So now I have 3 different meals across the week that I'm looking forward to. And that's the big thing. It's like, I'm looking forward to eating, I'm looking forward to having a fun meal, not, just loading up on carbs and whatever happens to be in the pantry.
And even just like cranberry sauce, we made cookies out of it. We put it on top of yogurt. You have it in your, with your turkey. But there's so many different ways to utilize something like that you'd never think of, right?
Absolutely. I love all the ingenious ways that you come up with to utilize the ingredients and your resources. That's fantastic. And they sound really delicious on top of all of it. So I understand the response to your Zooming classes has been just wonderful. And many people suggested through this that you put together a cookbook, and now you have. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Downsized Gourmet?
So the Downsized Gourmet cookbook is actually an Alzheimer's Association fundraiser. This is something we've always wanted to do, a give back to the Alzheimer's Association. Being in the sphere that we're in, working with seniors and a lot of people who have cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's, we really wanted to do something. And so with the pandemic and the Zoom program, I took all the recipes, put them into a cookbook, also invited some of the assisted livings to also contribute to the cookbook, because they are our partners, and they were our partners prior to the pandemic. And so we've got a compilation of my recipes, old family secrets. My grandmother's probably rolling in the grave because the meatball recipe's gone. And as I say, we put it together, and then we sell it, and all profits go to the Alzheimer's Association. So I've sold over 300 cookbooks so far. So I'm really, really excited about that. To all types of people, viewers, to senior centers, to home care agencies, assisted livings, family members. My kids are getting them for Christmas. Are you kidding me? Because it's not just for seniors, it's for people who it's hard to cook for 1 or 2.
Yeah, people, as we talk about repurposing the food, people repurpose the cookbook. So you have, what about my 20-something-year-old kid who's living on their own? And same dilemma. Food's great, food's easy, and it lasts, and it's great. Then we had a friend of ours, a colleague, bought it for her mom who has a caregiver. And she reported back to us 2 days later, after she bought the book and gave it to her mom's caregiver, that the 2 of them sat down immediately, opened up the cookbook, and started plotting what they were going to be doing in the coming days and weeks. And so it became so much more than that. Now it was an activity to engage rather than just sit around your house and watch TV or whatever. You're planning a meal. And for those of us who like to cook and prepare meals, that's an exciting time. So it's choosing, it's executing, and then enjoying the food.
And making a list. So I always say it's not about the cookbook, it's not about the recipe. It's what this project has done to create and encourage engagement, right? And as Paul said, it could be a caregiver with a senior. I sold one to a family. There's a 13-year-old daughter who likes to cook with her mom, and they can do that together. These are easy recipes. It's nothing hard. You can do it with your kids. Grandma can do it with grandkids, whatever. It's just to create that sense of, family, community, whatever it is, activity, right?
That's beautiful. Yes, it's creating those special memories. I heard this saying one time that cooking is love you can taste.
Oh,
I love
that. We could steal that one.
Something to that effect. Yeah, you could steal that one. But I just thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story. And I know folks will want to know where they could get a copy of the book. So we're going to put your information up on the screen now so they can get in touch with you. And as you said, I think this is a perfect holiday gift idea for so many people. So I really want to thank you again and wish you both happy holidays. And thank you for all that you're doing to support Alzheimer's Association.
Thank you, Sandy. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And now, let's take a look at what's happening around Masonicare. Congratulations to the latest recipient of the GEM Go the Extra Mile Award, Ethan, a member of our waitstaff at Masonicare at Ashler Village. Ethan was recently working his usual dinner shift at Ashler Village when a resident began to choke on a piece of food. He was able to dislodge the food from the resident's throat, and in recognition of his swift action, was presented with Masonicare's Gem Award. Thank you, Ethan, for truly going the extra mile and keeping our residents safe. And Masonicare Mystic recently celebrated its 5th anniversary. Thank you to all who attended our fun celebration, including a special visit from our CEO, and all who helped put the event together.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Ageless Living.
We look forward to bring you more stories about living well as we take this journey together.
And until next time, stay well and remember, be ageless. Bye.